Today, we're using computerized ingenuity and some freehand ingenuity of my own as we work on the flower of the month. Plus, I'll share some freehand designs on this broken star quilt. It's important to set boundaries. For instance, I tell my husband Rick never to come up behind me and scare me while I'm quilting. That's a boundary. Or you might make sure that you are never interrupted when your favorite quilting show, this one, comes on TV. That's another boundary you can set. But I'm talking about boundaries on our Longarm machines. How far down can you quilt before you hit the bar and get a bump in your quilting line? It's easy to lose track. Here's a method of using pins or masking tape so this never happens again. When we quilt down to the bottom of the quilt, the pins show and we know where our boundary is. But pins alone don't do the trick. Pins can poke us or catch in our clothes. Simply cover the pins with a strip of masking tape. And the tape is reusable by simply sticking it on the canvas until you need it the next time. I appreciate hearing from my viewers. If you have time-saving advice that I can share with other quilters, please let me know. I'm working on this pretty Flower of the Month quilt today, and it has embroidered blocks. But I first want to mention that my friend in Colorado, C.J. Diggerstein, is the one that started this for me, and so I'm just finishing it. And she also sent a class project, which she had taken a class with me, and she finished it. I love to see these finished projects. And so let's just take a quick look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous with these beautiful flowers on them. This is Shadow Trapunto, and it has a gorgeous designer echoing around the outer edges of it. Thank you, CJ, for all of that. We're going to start today by doing a stitch in the ditch around the block. I want to secure this block, and so remember, we don't want to start in a corner or in an intersection. So we're going to start on the side of the block, and we'll go down and bring up our thread like that, and I took just a couple of little stitches there to secure that. And then I will start my machine, and I have my ruler planted just a 1/4 inch away from that edge. And this is just really, my right hand is only propelling the machine. My left hand is determining where that machine is actually stitching. You can see it's just right in the ditch, right between that seam, on the downside of where that is pressed. So I'm using white thread as I come around, and I also have an extended base on my machine so that I have a nice flat surface to work with as I go around and use my ruler. Now I can only be effective where my fingers are. If I'm over here like this is not going to cut it. I need to have my fingers right where I'm stitching to make sure that I can be really accurate with this stitch in the ditch. And then as I come up to where I started, and there's my thread where I started, and I don't cut that immediately because I have to cut it afterwards anyway, so I just do it all at the same time, and that is another time-saving tip. I went past where I started just about a stitch or two, and now I'll do little stitches in a row. I'm not going back and forth, so I'm not going to have a clump of thread there, and you won't be able to see that on the other side or on this side at all. There we go. Now I'm going to just go and outline the embroidery work. And so much of what we see now has a lot of embroidery work on it because there are a lot of embroidery machines. People are having so much fun with embroidery machines. And again, I'm just going to hold on to my thread as I start. And I'm just going to go around the embroidery like this. Now you could just very carefully go around every little bit of that embroidery if you wanted to. Depending on the look you wanted, you would need to really go slow. But I'm going to go around the embroidery, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to circle. This one is a September. There we go. Like that. And now I'll cut my thread, and I'll start my freehand design. And what I've chosen to do is what I call an S echo. So I am going to make an S like this, and then echo it. Another one, and just keep echoing. So I have curves both directions. And I need to go into this area. I'll just take off there, like that, and get back into my S. So now I'm going the other direction on this S, as you can see. There we go. And just fill in all of these areas like that, and then I'll take off the opposite direction. So I just basically go one direction and then turn and go the other direction. And it makes a very interesting meandering. And it's really fun to do, very flowing. As we go all the way around. I am using the regulated stitch, and right now I'm in 12 on my regulated stitch. And I like to use that on this particular meandering design because if you can see where I need to stop and go, I don't have to worry about those stitches being uneven. Especially when I get around the applique, because I need to you know, fill in some smaller areas, like down through here. I want to go in here and fill in this area. There we go. And then I'll just come out over here on this side and work my way back. That way you have time to think about where you are going to go. I know so many people feel like they get cornered, and if you know that you can just go back over your stitching or follow the stitch in the ditch to get back to where you want to be, you won't get cornered. We worry about so many things. I think sometimes if we just quit worrying so much, we would be in much better shape. I guess that's true for a lot of things. Okay, we're almost finished with this block. There we go. And I'm going to end right there on the side and just take my little stitches right there in the ditch. So they are hidden right in the ditch, and no one will ever be able to find that. You could challenge somebody to find where you stopped and started. So there's our little block. Now I'm going to roll up, and I'm going to go into the computerized mode so I can finish the last block. I'll be right back. Now we're going to complete this one last block with this computerized quilting. And to do that, I simply click on the corners. That was the left corner, right corner, top right, and top left. And then we'll let the machine go to the starting point. Then we can take our thread and go down and bring up our bobbin thread. And we'll start the pattern here. It takes some little stitches, and we'll stop it so we can cut our thread. And then we'll start it again. And we'll watch this pattern stitch out all by itself. This is pretty amazing. When we have a pattern that's this tiny and this intricate, I really enjoy watching the computerized machine do its thing. This beautiful little intricate pattern is by Kim Diamond. And thank you, Kim, for letting us show your beautiful pattern. While this is stitching out, I could do my drawing, or I could be quilting or piecing. But sometimes it's just so mesmerizing to watch it that I get caught up and just stand and watch. The overall texture on this quilt will be evident when we hang it up. You'll see how intricate the quilting is. It even does my tie-offs for me. Okay, we're finished with this project. I'm going to go over and I'm going to work on my simple broken star again. I'm excited to finish this quilt. I only have 2 small areas left and I will be completely finished with this quilt. I also want to point out that I do have this quilt already bound, and once you get a quilt that is stabilized, you could take it off and bind it if you need to. And that works for me a lot because I work on many different quilts at the same time. In this area of the border, this is a piece, the part of the piece border. I already have completed all of the pineapple areas, and I've echoed around them, so I have this area in here to finish. So I'm going to bring the machine over and I'm going to find the center, which I just use my eyes, but you could use your tape measure and make a little mark there if you need to make sure that you're right in the center. And I have found in my experience of quilting that if I use my body to do circles, they turn out fairly good and circular. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a circle in the middle of this. I'll show you what I mean. Just going to go around it several times, like that. Now I hung on to my threads as I started, so I didn't have to do the little security stitches because I don't want to get a buildup of thread. But that secured it by going over that several times. It's secure. So now I can cut that and get rid of that. And I wanted to do a little bit of, just throw in not just feathers, but a little bit more texture. So what I decided to do was just to do straight lines like this. And I reach clear out to the edge, just back and forth. And you can't go really slow on this. If you go really slow on these straight lines, they won't be straight. They'll be shaky. So it's point. Just think of going out to the point and then back into the point. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top. And you can already see how that is drawing in the fabric around it. Now remember, when we quilt, we shrink the quilt, really. I mean, you can start with a 100 by 100 quilt, and it could end up to be 8 inches shorter in width and in length, because it can shrink from 2 to 10% as you quilt the quilt. So now I'm going to come out with a straight line here and a teardrop like that. Follow that back up and go clear over into this area like that. And I just follow that feather up and come back like this and follow the stem. Out and back and out and back. And then I do a double stem. So I follow that back up like that, reach out into that area, and then back like this. Here we go. Nice light touch. And then I can go around this circle as many times as I want. So it's real nice. I don't have to stop and start and just keep going around. Don't be afraid to multiple stitch on something, because it's going to give you texture. It's going to draw the eye to that area, and it's going to look like, I mean, we meant to do it, absolutely. So don't be afraid to double stitch. So here we go again with our teardrop and reach out. And notice how my body is even going, I'm going right to left here. my whole body gets into doing this feather, and I just follow the last feather up. You get really good at following that feather back up. You know, I know for many people it's really hard to stay right on that line, and you don't have to be exactly on that line. Let's not, you know, let's give ourselves the human factor in here. I'll go around that another time or two, take some little stitches there to secure the end of that thread, and there is a really pretty medallion. It's different, and the texture, if you look at this piece border with that texture, it's great. And then I just have in this green area, I just decided to do very simple pinwheels. There we go, and I'm securing my stitches there. Now I know I'm going to be hitting on these clamps, so I'm going to take them off because I think I can hold that as I do it. And you'll see I'm going to do big movement here and then back out, and quite fast. Here we go. There we go. You see my whole body gets into this, and I go into the middle and out. This pinwheel is just probably my favorite design to do in borders, just because it's so fast. So fast and easy. I go over, and then I leave a little space on this side. You can see I didn't go all the way over on that side because I've got to come out on that side. So here, that's where I'm going to fill that in. And you see on this side I go clear over, and then come over here, go in with my pinwheel, like that. And then I'll come out over here, and that's where I'm going to connect and go right over to the border and just end right there next to my binding. And remember, you can load a quilt with binding. You can put a quilt back on in any stage. We'll move that over there so you can see that that border is finished. And I'm very excited because now this project really is finished. I hope you've enjoyed this season of Linda's Longarm Quilting. Whenever I work with other quilters and whenever I teach, I always learn something myself. I hope you have too, and have had as much fun as I have. Whether you're a longarm quilter yourself or seeking out a quilter to finish your quilt tops and other projects, I hope you have a sense of the wide range in styles and creativity that different people bring to their quilting art. Keep watching, and please do try it yourself. Remember, if I can do it, you can do it. See you soon.